Welcome back, capital F football fans, to the O&O Sports YouTube channel. Today we are looking at possibly the biggest matchup of round 2 of the 2024 college football playoff. It's actually one of the first games of the year 2025, the Rose Bowl between Oregon and Ohio State, the highly anticipated rematch from earlier this season where Oregon took home the W. As always, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot, and let's jump into the tale of the tape. Starting with Ohio State, they've gone 11-2 this year, 7-2 in the conference. Their best wins so far this season are Penn State, Indiana, and Tennessee. In terms of total offense, they are ranked 24th. In total defense, they are first in the country. Their strength of schedule is 4th. They are ranked 6th in the college football playoff ranking, and our good buddy Todd actually has them first, jumping Texas to take the pole position in his rankings. Very solid numbers down the line there. But for Oregon, they are a whopping 13-0, 10-0 in the conference. Their best wins are Ohio State, Penn State, and Boise State, the state trifecta there. In total offense, they rank at 12th. In total defense, they are 10th. In terms of strength of schedule, they are 18th in the country, and the college football playoff obviously has them at first because they are undefeated. But our good buddy Todd said he doesn't care about that. He has them at 10th, a good bit lower than that of the college football playoff. Interesting numbers down the line for Oregon. And with that, let's look at your players to watch in this one. For Ohio State, your offensive player to watch is going to be the quarterback, Will Howard. He was great in their first matchup. He threw for over 300 yards and an 80% completion percentage with 3 total touchdowns. And he's going to need to match that energy from their last game if they want to take this matchup. On the year, he's tallied over 3,100 yards with a conference best 73.2% completion percentage and a conference best 29 passing touchdowns as well, with 9 interceptions, and he's racked up an additional 118 yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground. He is their best player, most impactful player. When he plays well, that offense is one of the best in the country. We saw that in full effect in their last game versus Tennessee. And he also got a lot of help from that defense, which we're going to highlight now with the defensive player to watch, defensive lineman JT Tuimoloau. He also had a great game versus Tennessee, 2 sacks, 5 tackles, a forced fumble, and a pass defense in that one. And on the year, he's racked up 24 solo tackles with 14 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, 2 pass defenses, and 2 forced fumbles. And Ryan Day, Jim Knowles, that entire coaching staff is going to ask him to potentially have the best game of his career here in order to win this rematch, because in their first meeting, that Ohio State defense felt like it really underestimated Oregon's line play, and they paid the price by giving up over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. At the very best, we'll say they were even in terms of physicality on those fronts, but they need JT as well as the rest of that D-line to show up and show out. But we're getting ahead of ourselves there. Let's look at Oregon and their players to watch. Starting on the offense, it's the quarterback Dillon Gabriel. It really is a quarterback duel to the truest extent of the term. We are excited to see this duel, and we've already seen it this year. That's how good both of these players are. But in their first matchup, Gabriel actually had a very similar game to Will Howard, throwing for almost 350 yards with 3 total touchdowns. And on the year, he's looking at a conference best in passing yards at 3,500 with a 73.2% completion percentage, 28 passing touchdowns, and 6 interceptions with an additional 192 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. Amazing season for him. He finished 3rd in Heisman voting, and he's going to need to have another great day here, just like their defensive end, Mateo Uiagalelei, who is your defensive player to watch in this matchup, brother of DJ Uiagalelei. Who knows where that guy is right now, but Mateo also had a good game in their first meeting, logging a sack, 2 tackles for loss, 3 solo tackles, and on the year he's logged 10.5 sacks, 23 solo tackles, an interception, 2 pass defenses, and 2 forced fumbles. Great year for him. Expect him to get a lot of attention from Chip Kelly and that Ohio State offensive line. It's almost a guarantee he's going to get double teamed a majority of this game, which brings us to our keys to victory for each of these teams in this matchup. As per usual, we'll start with Ohio State, and their first key to success is going to be winning the turnover battle. That is easily going to be the most important thing for the Buckeyes here. They went -2 in the turnover margin in their first meeting, and they ended up losing by a whopping 1 point. And that tells me that Ohio State is probably just the better team flat out here. It took them beating themselves, albeit to some Oregon creativity, for Ohio State to lose this one in Autzen. And if they just keep that margin closer here, they absolutely have a better chance to win, especially because of the neutral site matchup. But it will also take a great game from Will Howard to push the Buckeyes over in this one. He played a great game last time, so it's obviously possible, but Howard has had a few off days at times this year. And if you think back to the first matchup, he made a crucial mistake late in that one by sliding down as the clock expired. So obviously can't be doing that this go around. We think he's more than capable of carrying his team to a win here, but it will still take a team effort. And last but not least, the defense will need to step up here. They played virtually as good as they could the last go around with the circumstances they were dealt, but they need to be a good bit better in the run game especially, which isn't an easy task. But taking away that facet of the offense will take the load off of that team more so than it did the first time these teams played. Dillon Gabriel's obviously also amazing, but he'll probably be a little less amazing if he can't rely on Jordan James to rush the ball for 5 yards per carry. Just a little hint from me. Ryan, I know you're watching. You can thank me later. But with that, let's look at Oregon's keys to victory, starting with winning the turnover battle as well. Like we said, this is the most important aspect of this game, not only for the Buckeyes, but for the Ducks as well. And they did it the last time. We know they're more than capable of playing clean football, so it'll just be a matter of not letting a new environment force them to make uncharacteristic mistakes, which will be more than possible if they can win in the trenches. The second point here, their first meeting was an all-out battle, and more often than not, their offensive line was able to move that Ohio State defensive line around, allowing Jordan James openings on the ground, allowing Gabriel clean pockets to throw in, and most importantly, setting up Oregon for high success scenarios in big moments. Like we've said multiple times for both of these teams, they are more than capable of doing so, but what might be a bit trickier this go around, and what Oregon's third key to success is here, is getting creative with the play calls, not just on offense and defense, but on special teams as well. Think back to that onside kick earlier in the year that Lanning snuck in. Oregon steals a possession from Ohio State and ends up getting 3 points out of it. And if Lanning can pull off a little trickery in this one and steal another possession from Ryan Day and the Buckeyes, they should be in great position to win this one yet again, but obviously that will be much harder to do the second time around. We're still going to be looking for it in this one. And with that being said, let's jump into our prediction for this game. As always, me and Todd are going to have separate predictions here, and we're actually going to disagree in principle here. As we saw earlier, Todd thinks Ohio State is the best team in the country and thinks relatively low of Oregon for the position they put themselves in. Therefore, he thinks Ohio State wins this one 33-27. But in my opinion, that Oregon coaching staff has been on a tear this year. They've been great in close matchups, but I have to agree with Todd that Ohio State probably is the better team in this one. It may sound funny to some, but the game against Tennessee a few weeks ago all but proves that in our opinion. We just think that with the nature of this game being the second time these squads have met this year, it's going to be a close battle with Ohio State taking the W 34-31 and moving on to face the winner of Texas and Arizona State in the Orange Bowl. And with that, thank you for watching. As always, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Be sure to share it if you really enjoyed it. It helps us out a lot, and we will see you in the next one.